The Bermuda Triangle. You hear those words and what immediately comes to mind, right? Compasses spinning like crazy, radios going dead silent, and, of course, ships and planes just vanishing. But is this patch of the Atlantic really some kind of supernatural vortex, or is there a much more down-to-earth story behind the whole legend?
I mean, the legend is pretty huge. We're talking more than 50 ships and 20 airplanes that are said to have just disappeared in this one area. That's a lot. And it sparked all these wild theories. Everything from alien abductions to, portals to another dimension. So let's dig in and find out where this incredible story actually came from.
Because here's the thing you might not know. The Bermuda Triangle wasn't discovered on some ancient, mysterious map. No, it was invented.
And this shows you exactly how it all went down. It started pretty small, actually, with a newspaper article in 1950 that just noted a few disappearances. Then, a couple of years later, a paranormal magazine literally just drew a triangle, a totally arbitrary one, by the way, on a map to outline the zone. But the name, the one we all know, that didn't even come along until 1964 from a pulp fiction magazine that just completely sensationalized the stories with crazy details and even made up stuff.
This quote right here really just nails it. The triangle was created for people who love a good mystery, who want to be entertained, not necessarily for people looking for a scientific breakdown. Right from the very beginning, it was designed to be exactly what it is, a legend.
And, no single case did more to build that legend than the disappearance of Flight 19. I mean, this is the story. This is the one that really put the Bermuda Triangle on the map, so to speak. So picture this. It's December 5th, 1945. You've got 5 U.S. Navy torpedo bombers taking off from Florida. It's just a simple, routine training flight. The weather? Absolutely perfect. A nice warm day, a few fluffy clouds. You've got 14 experienced airmen on board. I mean, what could possibly go wrong?
Well, about 90 minutes into the flight, this is the transmission they get from the flight leader, Charles Taylor. He sounds totally lost. He thinks he's over the Florida Keys, but he was last seen over the Bahamas, which is hundreds of miles away. This message right here, this is the real key to figuring out the whole thing.
So the myth says that some mysterious force made both of his compasses just freak out at the same time. But the reality, based on the radio logs and the official Navy report, it's a very different story. The flight leader, he just got disoriented. He confused the islands he was seeing below him, and because what he saw didn't match up with what he thought he should be seeing, he decided his instruments, which were working perfectly fine, must be broken.
Okay, so if it wasn't some spooky supernatural force that took down Flight 19, what was it? Well, let's get into the logical explanations that can unravel not just this case, but pretty much every single case that's ever been blamed on the triangle.
The first factor, and you could argue it's the most common one, is just human error. Simple as that. Just like we saw with Flight 19, a pilot getting lost or a ship's captain making a bad call when they're under pressure, that can lead to disaster. And let's be real, that happens everywhere in the world, not just inside some imaginary triangle. And the second huge factor, it's the raw and very real power of nature. This part of the ocean has some pretty unique environmental conditions that make it genuinely dangerous, but there's nothing supernatural about them.
For starters, this area gets hammered by tropical storms and hurricanes all the time. It's also home to the Gulf Stream, which is basically a massive, powerful river inside the ocean that can make the weather flip from calm to crazy in no time flat. The ocean floor here, it's incredibly deep. We're talking almost 30,000 feet deep in some spots. So yeah, wreckage can disappear without a trace really easily. And there's this other idea, though, it's pretty rare, about methane gas bubbles suddenly erupting from the seafloor, which could, in theory, make the water so much less dense that a ship could sink in seconds.
Okay, so now that we're armed with the logic, let's go back and separate those last layers of fact from fiction. Let's finally put this mystery to bed. So here's the tragic but completely logical story of what happened to Flight 19. The pilot got confused. He thought he was over the Keys, so flying west seemed like a terrible idea that would take him out over the Gulf of Mexico. So he made the call to fly east, deeper and deeper into the open Atlantic, hoping he'd find land. But as the sun went down and the weather got worse, they just ran out of fuel and crashed into a really rough sea. So this brings us to the biggest, most important question of all. Even with all the storms and tricky currents, is this area a uniquely dangerous danger zone where things just vanish more often than anywhere else?
And the answer, when you actually look at the statistics, is no, absolutely not. When you compare the number of accidents to the sheer volume of ship and air traffic that goes through there every single day, well, the Bermuda Triangle is statistically no more dangerous than any other busy patch of ocean on the planet.
And that's exactly why you will never, ever find it on an official map. The U.S. Coast Guard, the actual people who run search and rescue missions out there, they do not recognize the existence of the Bermuda Triangle. To them, it's just a part of the Atlantic that's busy and, sometimes stormy.
So if you ask where all these missing ships and planes really went, the answer isn't a mystical portal or an alien spaceship. It's actually a lot simpler and way more final. As one analyst put it pretty bluntly, they just sank deep into the ocean.
Which leaves us with one last and maybe the most fascinating mystery of all. If the Bermuda Triangle isn't actually a real place, why is the legend itself so completely unsinkable? Maybe the real mystery isn't about what's happening in the ocean, but about why we humans are so drawn to a good, unexplained story. Something to think about.